Samuel, what is your film about?
It's about a favela in Rio de Janeiro who lived just near the Olympic Park, was in construction. Because of this construction, the authorities of the city tried to throw away all these people who are just here. They don't impeach, do they impeach? They could stay because there is not a problem. The community, the favela, was on the side of the Olympic Park, so both could stand, but it was ugly on the picture, on the Olympics picture. So they tried to say, okay, they want to leave. Nobody was have to leave. They wanted to leave for a better life. But you can follow all this story from inside, really in connection with the people who lived in this community. And so it was really, you can really clearly understand that something else is happened right underneath.
Somehow in the film it said that part of it was needed for a street and some in principle could stay. What was that about?
Exactly. The official proposal was, okay, we just need to make 2 streets to access for the Olympic Parks. The other people could stay, but this was just the official language.
A pretext.
A pretext, exactly. In fact, they wanted all this area because all this area was offered to a promoter who want to build building and have a garden, beautiful, without any poor, just on the side of rich people.
Mm-hmm. As it's a site with very beautiful views.
Yes, because this site is incredible. It's near lagoon. It's small, but in connection with all the transportation, in connection with rich people. So for all these people who live in the favela, they have to work close to rich people. Otherwise, they will be so really far away, and they have to come every day by transportation, which is really expensive. Yes. Excuse me?
As commuters.
Commuters.
Yes,
exactly.
Yes, to come back. One thing that strikes someone, I mean, normally if you hear favela, you are thinking of drug problems, violence, blah, blah, blah. It seems that this community, or at least what we see in your film, is everybody's friend. They don't have any drug problem, they don't have problems with violence unless it's, a quarrel between husband and wife. Why is that?
Because the community has only one access, which is really bad for all the drug traffic. So, but in the meantime, there were lots of families, and they were very, they really tried to keep it always safe. And it was really a quality of this. It was for these people who don't have lots of money, it was really something like a paradise. They say, okay, we can't afford something better than this place. So they were very careful. They take care of their place, of their relations with people, and all this.
And how did you happen to make this film? How did you happen to know them?
At the beginning, I was really interested not about sports, but it was the cities, my main focus, what I'm really interested in. And I started to realize that the Olympics were the most powerful event to change a city. When you receive the Olympics, in something like 6 or 7 years, you can change deeply a city, which normally takes years. This changing is always shown as a chance for a city, but in the meantime it's really a risk, because you change a city not too fast for the way she usually change. And so I said, okay, the Olympics is a good point of interest to start to understand what is happening today, and really to see how the authorities of cities now they dream of their city, because it's really like this. They say, okay, I want to do this. They want to in French we say to marquer leur empreinte.
To put a stamp on
to put a
city,
stamp.
Yeah.
I was there. I changed the city.
Yes.
And they always say we want to do like Barcelona. Barcelona is really interesting, but Barcelona is something like 30 years ago almost now. It was 20 years ago. And it was a good project, but it was really a good project for Barcelona. You can't just take this project and repeat it on other cities. Each city has its own, and I think the mayor of Barcelona was clever enough to say, okay, we will do our own project with this. And this is, I think it's really risky. So this is why I was really interested about the Olympics. And the Olympics offer this international interest. And at the beginning I was trying to work in Europe, more in Europe, about the cities who hosted the Olympics in the past, but not who were preparing. I thought that it was interesting enough. But it was difficult to find the budget for starting the film. And in 2013, there were all the Brazilian people in the street with slogans, how do you say this, with slogans like we want hospitals with FIFA's standards. And I said, okay, this is where my film will happen. And I came here, it was a year before the World Cup. And I discovered this. I not discover. Someone bring me in Villa Autódromo, which was all the majors of the world have to go there if they were interested in what was happening in Rio, because there was this. It was so close. There were the favela, a wall, a small wall, something like 3 meters high, and just on the other side, the construction of the Olympic Park. So it was really easy to make a picture who resume what was in conflict in Rio. But everybody told me, okay, this story will last something like 6 months, then the policeman will come one morning, but really early, everybody will be thrown away. So I started to try to find other stories to complete and to be on the other side of the world. Okay, this is people who will lose everything, about the risk to I didn't know at this time, the risk to lose everything. But there is people who believe in the Olympic project. So let's hear them and to listen to how they dream about the new city, all the promises. And we started to film in the community, thinking that maybe it will be a short stories because they will be thrown away. And it was incredible because these people, they don't have lots, but they risk everything to keep it. And on the other side, the authorities were trying to buy them, offering them 1 apartment, 2 apartments, 3 apartments, and money. And some people say, okay, you can't buy my house because it's not just my house, it's my life. I choose. It's one protagonist say it's not une maison de rêve, a house.
Not a dream house.
A dream house, but it's the house of my dreams. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a good sentence to resume what was really happening. Mm-hmm.
What was the legal situation? I mean, these people have been living there for ages. They built their own houses. What is the legal situation in Brazil?
When there is a place, there is two laws in Rio, which can enter in conflict. One say if you can't just take a place and say this is my land, because there is it's always someone else, or it belongs to the states. But there is another law who say if you can't make a roof on your top in a place, you have this right to, if you can't live on another, you have the right to live somewhere. So if you can start to make a house and nobody, it's not on someone's private place, you can stay. If you can stay any years, your right to stay here becomes stronger and stronger. For Villa Autódromo, they have someone before of the authorities. So, okay, you can stay here for 99 years. Mm-hmm. And now they were here since something like 60s or 70s, I can't remember now, but it's such a long time that it was almost good for them. They can stand for eternity. So they were just at this. It missed just one step for them to be sure that they could stand until the end.
So what was the legal things? Okay, you can say we have to build Olympia. Then it's clear. Community can say, okay, we have to build a street here through. But all the other people who were in this fiction that they needed a street and the rest could stay. What was the legal fiction in order to kick them out?
This was a problem for the authorities because he don't have any power to say, okay, you have to go. He can justify, okay, this is the streets, you have to go. So he has to use other way to make pressure of the people, so they decide by themselves to leave. But most of the people don't want to leave, but they have to leave. If they don't leave, they can lose everything. It's people who don't have bank accounts, something like this. If they lose their house, even people who are on the way of the streets, who have to leave, if they don't start to negotiate with the authority, they will lose their house, and they have to go in a tribunal. It will take something like 3 years for them to have an amount for buying the house. 3 years during which these people won't have any house and nor the money to live in somewhere, in a place, another place. So these people don't have choice. So it's really, really complicated. And they were always 24 hours a day trying to say, okay, your neighbors has already leave, you have to leave because otherwise we won't offer you 3 apartments tomorrow, so decide today. And when people start to leave, the community starts to be more fragile because the drug people trying to find places, and so there was problem with rats, with snakes who came. So their life, who were really like a small village, really, really nice, everything starts to be more complicated. All the shops were closed. They couldn't, for the shops, there were another way of trying to put them away, which is the choque de ordre. They speak like this here. It means with the law, you really do all you can do to make to put them out, exactly. With all the electrical problem you can have, all the sanitary problem you can have, everything. They will find something and puts une amende, I would say, taxes.
Yes, a fine.
A fine on you. So all the shops have closed. It was difficult for the people to buy things, usual things, to live here. This is the way the authority work to put them out.
There is one very impressive scene where there is a rather brutal police intervention, which was filmed by one of the people there. By the way, quite interesting. They're always filming, and exactly. The police is always filming. Everything is filmed the whole time. I did get this right, that this had quite an impact also in international media.
Exactly, it was really interesting because it was, even for me, it was difficult to understand when I was editing the film. We have a problem with this scene because it's very violent in the middle, and there is nothing which really announces this violence. And so we always think, okay, this is a moment terrible for the community because one of the protagonists of the film
heavy beaten.
Exactly, she's with blood on her face. And we always thought this is difficult for them. It's really, it will be stronger. It will be harder for them. And I realized that I was completely wrong. It was worse for the mayor because this image of Peña, she's the women, with his face with blood, really shocked a lot of people, lots of medias, international. And so the mayor have to step back and say, okay, we have to be, we can't go on with this way. And he really, I'm quite sure he really regrets what happened here, because otherwise he can go on slowly to pushing people away. Exactly, pushing softly, exactly. Yes. And this was really bad for him. So it was really interesting to start to understand what's really happened at this moment.
When one sees the mayor in the film, whatever he says makes total sense. And in the beginning, you see these architects who explain that these sports facilities they are building are built in a way that they can easily be transformed after the Olympics into schools. And one has the impression that most of the stuff they are doing makes complete sense.
Sorry, I did not really understand the question.
Well, the question is a bit, if you look at what the mayor is telling about what he's building for these Olympics, and if you want to win Olympics, you also have to present the plan to the committee that is saying we are ecological and for the people and blah, blah, blah. So it sounds quite good, and I'm interested a bit, apart from the conflict with this community, I mean, did the stuff they were doing make sense or not?
So it was really interesting because this story of the handball venue, which I think, because as I said before, I thought that it would be complicated to build a feature film only with the story of Villa Autodromo, because it could last something like 6 months and ends. So I started to find other stories, and there were the stories of these handball venues with the promise that it could be changed after the Olympics, and with one venue they will build 4 schools. This is what the Olympics dream, because it's like you have a baguette magique. How do you call this?
Yes, a magic stick.
Magic sticks, and you say "balang," and the venue will change and become a social legacy. In London, they already tried to make something like this for the basketball venue, and it was too expensive. They abandoned this project. So I already knew that how difficult it is. And so I said, okay, this could be really interesting. Maybe they could. And at the beginning, I didn't want to say, okay, we will see how this project is bullshit, something like this. Okay, let's hear them. Maybe they have good ideas, and they could. I was really open-minded. And we met the architects, and we can really, they couldn't say it in front of the camera like this with this clarity, but you could really easily understand the difficulty, because a venue of handball has nothing to see with 4 schools. So it was almost bullshit. You can just use something like sanitary things, the doors, some lamps, and the structure was around the building, but the building himself couldn't be transformed, because a venue for handball, it's an empty space. Most of the space is empty, and there is les gradins, les gradins, you know what it's, arquibancadas, you know, the place to sit. No, the place just to sit.
The chairs.
The chairs. Yeah. Most of the place in a venue like this is an empty space with chairs.
Yes.
All this doesn't use in a school. So we can easily understand that it's really complicated to this change is really not natural. And so, but we try to follow this project. But after something like 1 year, even less than a year, we were always asking them, okay, we'll come back, we are here, because I came back every 3 or 4 months, and they say, okay, I'm here, we want to see now the place where the schools will be, because they say, we know exactly where the school will be. Okay, show us, please, we want to visit these places, show us, and so we can really explain all the project. And they say, oh, it's complicated, so this time, call us next time. And other records, they say, we can't talk to you because we don't know. Yeah. So we knew that how difficult it was to be.
But would you say that the architects there, they were lying plainly? Or?
No, I think that it depends. They were not lying, they were really trying their best to realize an idea which seems for them not, they didn't come from there. Mm-hmm. It was really the idea of the mayor and maybe his office, because this venue was the last without any project for his legacy, and it starts to be really discussion points in the media, in the local media, to say, okay, the legacy is a problem with the Olympics. What will happen after? And so it was the last without any project, and he said we have to find 4 schools. I think the decision should be a little bit like this. Yes. And so this is, it was really interesting, but at the end, the mayor said, okay, we'll build 2 schools in Villa Autodromo, but it was a completely surprise for me when he said this, because I followed this project without thinking that these 2 projects, Villa Autodromo, these 2, the favela and the schools, could be at the same place. So it's a complete surprise for me, incredible for the film. And total bullshit, because you can't build these schools at this place. This is the architects say that, not me, not I.
In the film, is seen the property developer who wants to build on this beautiful space a luxury apartment. Seems to be a very important guy. What was his role?
This guy is today he should be something like 95 years old. He's really an old man. He since the 80s, I think something like this, even maybe the 70s, he says, okay, Rio couldn't grow because it's really complicated. Rio is really between hills and the ocean, yes. And so there is no place for growing. So he said, okay, the next of Rio will happen in the east part. It is called Barra. So he starts from the 70s to buy almost all the lands here. There is some legends that he was really violent. There were 3 people. They really, in a violent way, push people who lived there. It was far from the city at this time. And he starts to build really in an American way of thinking the city, with condominiums and big streets and malls. There is no center and nothing like this. And everything is funny because everything is called Rio 2, Rio 2, Barra, Leblon 2, Copacabana 2, really like second part.
Copy of the original.
Exactly. And so that the Olympics happen in this place prove him that he was right. Okay, the future of Rio, the development, how Rio can grow up could happen here in Barra. And so for him, the Olympic Park could really be the proof and the center of the new Barra, as he planned this. And sorry, just to go a little bit far with this guy, because he has an idea of the society which is really frightened. It's really the idea, okay, we will make places for rich people, I will make places for rich people, and poor people, we will put them away. They will just come in the morning, working here, and then they will leave. But this is a region not for... He really disliked the idea that people could mix. And so for him, he say, but really, he tell, it was a big... he tell it in front of a camera, not in front of a camera, but a journalist from BBC, in first of The Guardian, and then he repeats, even worse, in front of a journalist of BBC Brazil. Brazil. So this has a huge impact in Rio and over the world. And he really says with this clarity, I couldn't make something for rich people with this poor. You understand? They stink, these people. You can understand. It was terrible. Really, lots of people were shocked when they hear this. And it was in the middle of the film for me. So for sure we have to bring him in the film. Yes. And we couldn't have a direct interview with him because 2 times it was so bad how we communicate. So they didn't want to speak with any journalist anymore. And so there is only the journalist to explain how this moment happens in front of my camera.
Brazil has since some time this Lava Jato where the judges are indicting lots of very high-ranking politicians, even the president, the actual, has legal problems. What was your experience with the law and the legal system in this whole case? I mean, you have a very important, rich developer, you have the mayor, you have this Olympic Games. On the other side, you've got some poor people in a small favela. Are the judges impartial, or how was this?
About Lava Jato, it was complicated moment for me because it was so important every day in the newspaper, even in Switzerland.
Sorry, pardon to interrupt you, but I just took Lava Jato as an example, you know, where you can say, okay, in Brazil the legal system is going after big people, and I wanted to know how was the whole thing in this case, the city, the mayor against the people from Villa Alto.
It was interesting because here there is something which they call, I have to change the language in my head, it's an organization from the state who will help poor people to defend themselves.
Yes.
So it's really interesting because they couldn't afford to have a lawyer, but with this organization, these people will fight for them. And these people were very trying the best to help the people from Villa Autódromo. So they came from the government too, but they fight against the government. And these people say it was really complicated, not really because of Lava Jato or nothing else, something else, but because of the Olympics. The Olympics is like something magical.
Sacred cow.
Sorry?
Sacred cow.
It's something so important that everything has to be done that the Olympics will be good for, will happen and everything will be ready. So even some judges say in front of a lawyer, you can understand there is the Olympics. We can't take a decision who will be against the Olympics, against the realization of the Olympics. So it was really complicated for these people to fight with Villa Autódromo. They're really a new limit, something they never encountered before the Olympics. And which is complicated, that's the IOC in English. The IOC always say, no, it's not our problem. We are just here for the sport. What happens, it's not our rule, our responsibility. Mm-hmm. And but in the meantime, they know that their project is so huge that there is an impact, for sure. You can say in a way, okay, we will offer you opportunities, incredible, with amounts of money will arrive from the world entire. And on the other side say, no, you have no responsibility. You have a responsibility. If you know how the impacts of the Olympics on the city, you have to be responsible of this impact.
At the end, the ones who are resisting, who are not taking the money, they all get small houses. Some get 7 apartments. And there's one guy who keeps his house and builds it 3 stories high. So, what would we say? I mean, have they won? Is it? Do they live good in their new houses, or how is that?
It's really an open question for me. and for all of them, because nothing is, for us, the film as an end, but nothing is over. I mean, for the people who live now in the small houses, they call it the casinhas, they don't have the paper, the regular paper to say, okay, this is your house, you can keep it till the end. So they are in danger, maybe more than before. And maybe the guy who keeps his houses and fights alone against justice and even a little bit against other people, there is a fight a little bit between these people who stay. Maybe he has a decision from the justice to say, okay, they can't destroy my house, so he's the one maybe who has the more chance to be here. Mm-hmm. So it was my question with almost all my protagonists. What do you think? Did you win? Did you lose? And there is two ways of seeing the thing. At the beginning there was something like 500 families, now there is something like 20 families. So people say we have lost everything. And there is other people who say no. Never before in Rio, when there was an eviction of a community, we can keep build have this 20 new houses. So maybe it's the start of something new that can happen for the policy of evictions in Rio. So I can just say it's a moment, a special moment, but we have to see now what will happen next in Vila Autódromo, in Rio, with other evictions.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. During this whole building of the Olympic facilities, the city also tried to pacify or have more police forces in other favelas. And all of a sudden there started a wave of speculation that people were buying, people with money were buying parts of the land from the inhabitants of the favelas. Have you followed this process as well?
Not really, because the pacification, when I start the film, first, in Vila Autódromo there is no drug, no traffic, so no pacification. Pacification really matters in the center of the city. But when I arrived, pacification was already in a second moment and it starts to be really difficult. All the problem the people from the favelados have with the traffic, with the drug dealer before, they say, okay, now nothing has changed for us. We depend before from drug dealers, now from policemen, corrupted policemen, so nothing has changed. At the beginning, the pacifications on the paper, it seemed really interesting. They were really a new way of thinking this thing. Okay, we'll try to work with new policemen who are not corrupted already, people, lots of women, lots of people who came from the favelas, because now there is people from the favelas, which is the third generation, so there is people with education, things like this. So it was really, when I started, it wasn't an issue for my film, and I really wanted to keep focus on just what was happening around Vila Autódromo and the Olympic parks. It was another story. It was really a difficulty for me during the film to say, okay, Lavajato, no, I let it. Pacification, no, I let it. There is a lot of things happening, and I always try to keep focus what really matters for me. The impeachment happened during my shooting, but finally it's almost not there, not here, because it wasn't really an issue for the people from Vila Autódromo. And once a friend of mine, which is Brazilian, in Switzerland, helped me to understand what was happening. She asked me, why don't you put the impeachment in your film? It's so important. And I was thinking, I think it's not my story. Good point of view, all right. Because everybody mixed all together, and there is different stories. You have to take things apart. And it was really, it seems easy, it seems natural to put the impeachment in everything. No, there is different stories, and I tried to keep just a line on my story.
when still, if we have a bigger perspective, when Brazil won the World Cup and the Olympics, Lula, the left-wing president, was on top of things. Brazil was going economically very well. These days it's total crisis. The Workers' Party is out of power, is in shambles. They won't win anything the next time. Would you say that it was one big mistake of Lula, this idea with the Olympics and the World Cup?
To have both, for sure, it was double risky. Really, I can't say that. It really depends on the projects you have with the Olympics.
If I rephrase my question, I mean, apart from the problem of Villa Autodromo, did the Olympics help this country, or was it something that hindered stuff?
No, I think Rio has problem, and in a way, the Olympics could be a help. But as I said before, everybody say it's a chance to have the Olympics, but it's a risk in the meantime. I think that nobody, when they received the Olympics, nobody could say that the crisis will arrive. It was really something terrible who happened about les matières premières, how do you call this?
The commodities.
Non, les matières premières, le pétrole, le bois, it's commodities?
I thought so, I'm not sure.
Okay, with all this, it was a market problem which collapsed completely. They don't, if the crisis wasn't here, how the Olympics project will happen? Really, I'm just a filmmaker. I like to see how things happen, but I'm really not. I don't have this. I never think like this. What could happen if it's really. So I couldn't say that. It's really everything could be really different, but I couldn't say it could. I think it's the worst who happened for sure. Nobody thinks like this, that it would be so difficult for this. But for sure, the Olympic projects in Rio, how it was thinking, is an old project, even for the IOC, because it's always this idea that everything, all the venues should be really concentrated. And this is, you can't, this is a terrible legacy for a city, because everything is in a small place, and you can't. Even big city like Rio don't need all these venues. So now they have a new policy. Say, okay, you can't build Olympics between two countries, two cities, and it will be really easier it will help the cities to have a legacy which really can help not only the IOC but the city itself.
Thank you.